everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany. Also joining me, Fox Business anchor and co-host of The Bottom Line on Fox Business, Dagan McDowell. Fox Nation host Casey McDonnell-Hosmer. Fox News contributor and host of Tomi Lahren is Fearless on Outkick, Tomi Lahren. And chairman of O'Leary Ventures, Kevin O'Leary. We begin with a billionaire at the border. Guess who it is? The growing crisis at our southern border is being ignored by the mainstream media, the liberal media, I would say, Democrats, and the president. But Elon Musk, that's who I'm talking about, he is not turning a blind eye. Clad in a black cowboy hat, Musk went to Eagle Pass, Texas yesterday to get a close-up look at the ongoing migrant crisis. He visited a processing site with Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez, and Musk live streamed some parts of the tour on his social media platform, X.
What we're seeing here are, in some cases, some pretty extreme individuals coming through.
Sure.
Obviously not suggesting everyone is like this, but you're talking about a guy who came through who had face tattoos, including tears.
Yes.
Tattooed on his face.
Yes.
The tear, when somebody tattoos a tear, it means that they have murdered someone.
Yeah.
And they are so proud of having murdered someone that they tattoo one tear on their face for every person that they kill. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. I mean, these are
and this person just claimed asylum. And we just let them in.
We let them in.
Most likely, if they were murdering people somewhere else and proud of it, they will continue in that tradition.
That's exactly right.
Well, Elon Musk says as an immigrant himself, he is pro-immigrant, but he also says people should not be allowed into the country if they are breaking the law.
We want to do both things. Smooth out legal immigration and then stop sort of a flow of people that is of such a magnitude that is actually leading to a collapse of social services where even America's largest city, New York, is buckling under the pressure of just how many illegal immigrants are going to New York. If New York can't handle it, well, pretty much no part of the country can.
So, Tomi, we now go to the lovely AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She had a comment. She was very upset by this. Elon Musk always seems to trigger her, by the way, and indeed he did here. What's funny about this photo? The House is holding important votes in D.C. tonight. People are scrambling to avoid a shutdown. But this Republican congressman decided to skip town to joyride with a billionaire when his own party has just a single-digit margin and needs his vote. The border isn't joyriding. You've been there. Millions crossing.
Yeah, I would hope that more Democrat representatives would go to the border. I think that is needed and necessary. But I give Elon Musk a lot of credit for doing this because there's a lot of people that watch this channel, that watch conservative media, and they know what's going on at the border. New Yorkers, they see it in their streets. They have some idea of what's going on. People in border cities and border states, they have some sense of what's going on. But the world at large, do they understand the crisis at our southern border? Sometimes I'm not sure. I would think that if people understood the magnitude, that their votes would have been a little different in the midterms. So Elon Musk live streaming this, talking about this, someone who is not a conservative, someone who is not a Republican, someone with a massive platform, owns a platform, live streaming this, talking about the realities, I think it breaks through to people that otherwise might not be receptive to this conversation. It's needed. It's necessary. Good for him for doing it. Maybe Kamala Harris could join the billionaire on our joyride next time. I would love to see that.
Yes, Senator Katie Britt, Dagan, went on this joyride. Okay, it's a joyride. Listen to what Senator Katie Britt found on the joyride on the southern border.
Because when a woman sits there and she tells you not just about being raped, but how many times a day she's raped, when she tells you about having to lay in that bed while they come in and out and in and out, it's disgusting and it's despicable. But when they tell you about finding small children who have drowned in that river or pulling a lifeless body of a woman who is pregnant with twins, it changes the way you think about what's happening. Guys, that's not the American dream. That's an American nightmare. And I am so sick of Joe Biden lecturing us about the soul of America.
Powerful.
It really is powerful. Elon Musk goes to the border because he does care, and he has moved his business to Texas. Joe Biden was in Arizona yesterday and was roughly 150 miles from the border, and he did not go. And to what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was saying, her party, they continue to deny that the border is open. Ayanna Pressley just this past week made the comment that the border is closed, is secure. And this has been going on since the beginning of the Biden administration, that children are drowning and dying, that women are being raped over and over again because Joe Biden's border is open, that people are dying from fentanyl poisonings, tens of thousands every year, that cities are overrun, they're being financially crushed, that children in public schools from coast to coast are suffering because migrant children who can't speak English are in these schools. But all Biden and company have done is lie about the border being open and try to wordsmith this deadly catastrophe to massage the message and make it more palatable to their base and the media who is in their corner. You know what? This is plumbing the depths of evil, what Joe Biden is doing, and it's astonishing that they won't wake up to the calamity and the death.
Yeah, and you know, Kevin, Senator Ted Cruz has a reason why he thinks they won't go to the border. Let's take a listen and get your thoughts.
You cannot see what is happening and defend it. And by the way, the reason Biden doesn't go to the border, the reason Kamala Harris and other Democrats don't go to the border, because if they did, y'all would follow. The press would follow. And their only defense, they cannot defend what they're doing. Their only defense is to cover it up.
Big cover up.
So if you think about press cycles, and I look at it from a pragmatic point of view in a very partisan place that we are now, stories come and go every 48 hours. Not this one. This one is staying at the top quartile of all press every week now for 5 weeks. Because these images are really striking. And it's slowly becoming a bipartisan issue in debates, on news, and all news outlets, because when Elon Musk takes his own network, and he's got over 100 million followers, and says, I'm going to make it an issue, it becomes one. So if you look, you know, I buy services, and so many advertisers like me do the same thing. We look on social to see how many minutes each topic stays. And they come and go about every 48 hours. This thing is growing every day. And why you care is these are where the eyeballs are going to watch the issue, and that's how advertising dollars get chased. I don't want to make this about money, but it's becoming a big deal. And if you're running for presidency on either side of the aisle, you're going to have to deal with this one. This one's not going away, and it will become a top 3 presidential debate. It's around security. It's about the human race. It's about children. It's big.
Casey, that is a fantastic point, because over the summer, the press was ignoring this. But I would agree, in the last 5 weeks, you know, I flipped to an alternate network that normally loves to obsess over Trump legal cases ad nauseum every moment they breathe. But they had pictures of the southern border on. You have Mayor Adams calling them out, Governor Hochul saying we need more help, Democrat mayors across Texas, and leading to a Washington Post ABC poll showing only 23% approve of Biden on the border. He's got to do something.
This hasn't been the narrative. They're in over their heads at this point, and now it flips. Oh, we need help. Oh, we need help. We're inundated. We have too many people. Don't send them here. We can't accept all these people. This is illegal. And to your point, this story is not going anywhere. It is still illegal. There are people still flooding the borders, flooding into here. We can't be the greatest nation in the country if we can't support these people coming in. And if we don't uphold our rules and our laws, no one's going to abide by them. They're clearly not. And we're told just to stay in our lane. But it is good that Fox and X are showing this to the American people.
Yeah, you can't hide it. You used to be able to hide the border, but it's gotten just that bad. What a tragedy.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.